and a very warm welcome to Digital Pioneers, an ETStudios initiative powered by Tata Communications. I'm your host, Devina Lasson. Now, we're thrilled to bring you this very special series, Thriving in a Hyper-Connected Ecosystem, that deep dives into how hyper-connected enterprise is the future of business in India and globally. Now, no matter how you spin it, we do live in a hyper-connected world, and nowhere is this more evident than the business environment. As a means of connecting and collaborating becomes increasingly digital, the ecosystems have become more and more hyper-connected. In this series, we're going to explore how different groups of companies are coming together to build new critical infrastructure for the 21st century and optimize the existing ones with the help of emerging technologies. Without further ado, we have joining us today two very esteemed guests to give us their insights into hyperconnectedness and much more. I'd like to very warmly welcome Hari Nair, Vice President, Head Solution Engineering, India and Global Solution Center at Tata Communications. Hari, welcome.
Hi, thank you.
And Navid Hussain, CTO, Adani Capital. Welcome.
Thank you, Devina, for that introduction.
It's a pleasure to have you both here today. Really looking forward to this conversation, and let's sort of deep dive right into it. Navid, maybe we can start with you to set some context. So with all the compliance layers and regulatory framework that NBFCs have to face, how would you say, in your experience, organizations can really look at striking a balance between agility, ease of doing business, and also maintaining the quality of your product and portfolio?
Right. So, agility and ease of doing business has changed over the period, and you can look at it from three major aspects. One is the availability of services that our ecosystem has built along with the regulator. Second is the expectation of our customers in terms of fastness and ease of using the app. And third is the cloud approach and the infrastructure which can be leveraged. So, when we talk about the digital fintech solutions that are available, in which we are able to underwrite an application as quick as possible, it has changed a lot. Today, OCR and ML is in general used by all the NBFCs. We have account aggregation, which takes care of underwriting or understanding a banking behavior of our customer. We have also been able to crack the asset-based loans where two-wheeler, tractors, commercial vehicles, trucks can be lended. The loans can be given as easy as 6 hours, and we can use these technologies. However, coming to the second point where our customers expect ease and faster disbursement, they compare it with apps like Zomato and Swiggy or Myntra, as easy as ordering food at home. There is some restriction that comes with the regulator, and it reduces the agility because we have to make sure that there is a due diligence which is done, and we have to also ensure that we are not giving out loans to someone who is a willful defaulter or someone who does not have the ability to repay. To ensure that the person is in India, there's a liveliness check, there are further anti-money laundering checks which is done. This makes our TAT longer, reduces the agility, but the regulator is also working towards ensuring that this friction is reduced by adding more layer to mortgage-based loans. So what they're trying to do is, with a unique identification, I will be able to know what is the value of a house, who is the owner, if there is any dispute on that property. And if not, I will be able to underwrite that as soon as 2 days, which is currently more than 15 to 18 days that an NBFC takes. The third part that I come to is to a cloud infrastructure. Now, those were the old days where we had infrastructure in our premise, and we would have to work on ensuring there is a connectivity, ensuring there is a bandwidth, ensuring that all the regulatory aspect is taken care, like DR, BCP, all these things. And this is not creativity. This is more to do with infrastructure readiness. And now that it is on the cloud, it is one less problem that an NBFC have to do. With a click of a button, we can do BCP, we can do a check of DR and be RBI compliant.
Fantastic. So we'll circle right back to this very interesting point of how cloud is really enhancing and lending to the agility and the performance of the organization. But before that, Hari, I'd love to get you in on this as Tata Communications. What are some of the solutions that you are providing to your customers to sort of take care of everything that Naved has just mentioned? The agility, keeping this customer at the center. Really customer-centric approach. Well, what are some of the solutions?
So we have a three-pronged approach. Number one, we have the end user, the NBFC's customer, which we have to be concerned with, because that automatically takes care of the concerns of the NBFC. And the NBFC itself has to meet certain requirements on, like Naved, appropriately pointed out. It was the entire compliance. And compliance is a moving target. As he said, the regulator is constantly ensuring that the end user has an easier way of doing things, right? And the speed at which we can actually offer this has to be faster. And it's a competitive market landscape at the end of the day, okay? The NBFCs are competing with themselves. So I think the way Tata Communications has looked at it, we have seen it as a three-pronged model. One is to enable the NBFC itself, right? How do I ensure that we can provide a compliant cloud architecture? Ensure that whatever they do, ultimately meets the necessary aggressive price points which they would want to offer this at for their customers, so that we remove the element of, I would say, fat out there, and ensure that they are able to actually be aggressive in order to provide that service to the customer. The second itself is the customer. The Swiggy, Zomato app expectation is going to only grow, right? No, everyone would want that loan not in 6 hours, but on the table itself, okay? Because someone may be traveling far to get this loan, to a center, quite possibly, and that person is not going to come back. For him to wait could be a problem. He may have closed down a shop, or he must be not farming today in order to do that. So how do I actually do that across the table as frictionless as possible? So the entire customer experience around that and the flow around that is something which we have tried to develop. The third most important element in all this from the NBFC side is that whatever data is collected has to be completely secure, right? It has to be ensured that it's compliant, but also that data is not lost. It is maintained in a both regulated fashion, but also, and the compliance needs, but also from a perspective of, no one is able to actually access that data and do something inappropriate. Okay, the whole thing has to then, get interconnected. All these experiences have to be interconnected on a strong network architecture. So these are all the areas which we kind of work with our customers, especially in the NBFC. Yeah.
Thank you for that really detailed overview. And Naved, as Hari's mentioned, of course, competition is a given, and NBFCs are all sort of competing against each other. So what would you say are some of the competitive advantages that you have, and how do you approach keeping up with all the disruptions that are taking place in the industry, especially when it comes to tech solutions all the time?
So there are aspects in which there is creativity in tech, and there are aspects which is more like a product that we take off the shelf. For lending, loan origination system and loan management system are the two critical aspects in giving loans. And its infrastructure also plays a vital role in ensuring that its availability is in place and it is regulated. Loan origination system is where most of the TAT can be reduced. It is where most of the innovation lies. Now, for a loan which is of unsecured nature, it is very easy for an NBFC or a bank to give loans. But look at the complexity when it comes to giving loan at tier 2, tier 3 cities to a farmer, to a trucker, to a kirana store owner. There it is very difficult to underwrite because most of our customers are new to credit. We lend to people who are new to credit, which is almost 60%. So when they don't have a bureau score, We have to rely on alternate data and evaluate the credibility of the person. What is the kind of business that they are doing? It is also at the loan origination stage, we have to know what is his banking behavior when most of his earnings are through cash payments. So we use fintech services in loan origination and spend a lot of time in optimizing the workflow. What we do not spend a lot of time on, and it is the right thing to do, is the loan management system because it is off the shelf. So an amortization sheet will remain same. A statement of account, a foreclosure letter will remain same. And we do not put in innovation. We take the best product available in market. We also ensure that we do not spend a lot of time on infrastructure. We take the best infrastructure services, which takes care of all the regulatory aspect, and we are carefree at that stage because it's not creativity. It is tech, which is a solution, has to be implemented, and it is not a choice that you can make. It is something that you need to have. It's hygiene.
Absolutely. So, Hari, let's kind of add to this because hand in hand with having competitive advantage, of course, again, keeping the customer at the heart of strategy is key. What tech solutions would you suggest for organizations to implement when it comes to really engaging with customers on a regular basis? Relevant and consistent engagement with customers. What solutions would you advocate?
What we would look at is primarily around the persona who they are trying to address, right? It starts with the customer, and Naveed very quickly mentioned three different, the trucker, the shop kirana owner, and a farmer. They are different requirements, and each person has a different model in which you have to access them. A trucker could be having a fleet of trucks also. You're addressing that person also. So identifying that person and ensuring that he is actually informed at what time, right?
Yes.
How do you interact with him at the appropriate time when he wants it, when he's looking around for a loan? That visibility is something which can be done. And then appropriately interacting with him during that entire phase, taking him through that journey, okay, of informing him, keeping him updated. That today gets addressed through multiple channels, okay, and it becomes quite often for customers, because there are multiple touch points. Sometimes the customer tries to do that to reach that one persona. The idea is that how do you actually figure out a way in which you can actually have that interaction model in one place so that you can use that data in order to help that person through that journey. So when that person goes through the buying process, have the a customer experience tool, which most of these customers have, okay, but the touch points could be different. The same person may call you, the same person may want to message you, the same person may have to be updated once he takes the loan, okay, that money is due, or that collection person may be coming to his house and things like that, and he may not be there. So how does he interact? That entire interaction friction can be actually eliminated.
Right.
So that's the entire thing from a customer experience side, which we have tried to invest on in order to build that solution. And it's not a one fit all. Every enterprise has a different model of addressing that. Okay, so how do we actually address that for that NBFC in the channel which they are happy with, because they understand their customer needs better than us. But how do we make it frictionless for them? So the entire customer experience is one part of it, okay, so which we spend a lot of energy on. The second part is how do you actually ensure that once the data is actually validated, I mean, Naveed brought a very important point that the whole thing is, how do I not take too risky a decision? Okay, the underwriting process is a big part of, how profitable or unprofitable you would be as an NBFC. So how do you actually make that, that entire information and ecosystem available for them in an interconnected manner? Okay, so that, like you said, it's a hygiene requirement, but it requires a few moving parts at the back end which have to interact well for every customer. So these are two areas which we kind of invest on and we help our customers. Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Hari, I think that is a very good point, and it really helps NBFCs when there are partners who have done a lot of research and build this infrastructure. And the NBFCs do not have to reinvent those each time they implement a solution. They can just pick it off the shelf, use the components that are required, and implement it in the journey. This is really very helpful, because if all the NBFCs reinvent the same thing, there's nothing that you're doing as a part of creativity or something which is required specifically for your business. It is something that all NBFCs has to do, especially from a regulatory angle. So I feel this is the best approach, where you take it from a partner who has an expertise in this field, and you let the other aspect of doing business remain with the NBFC.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's exactly what we kind of do, because one of the things, and regulation is a moving target, as you know. It's constantly evolving, right? The intention is that, like you said, the frictionless activity has to decrease, right? And I think there's a lot of effort being done, but it has to be done in a secure manner. Ultimately, you're talking about people and individuals' data, and you don't want it to fall into wrong place and being used in a wrong way. So how is that ensured that? And at the same time, it's also for the industry, any bad practices which may be happening on the ground, can that be eliminated? So the whole process can be something which we can actually work towards.
Yeah, absolutely. Lots of points of collaboration here. Let's get back, Navid, to your point previously about cloud. Right, and cloud really being sort of a fulcrum of the infrastructure that's needed to enhance agility, efficiency, and ultimately hyper-connectedness. So can you take us through a little bit of your cloud strategy and how you really feel cloud is going to boost this ability to be resilient and hyper-connected in the coming years?
So when we say cloud, sometimes we feel that moving our data center onto a cloud is what it is, but it is more than that. First thing is the ability to be able to increase the compute whenever you want. Lending for most banks and NBFC is a month-end business. You do 80% of your loan in the last 7 to 8 days. And at that time, there's a huge load on the infrastructure, which you do not use on most of the days. And you get that agility to increase the compute at month end. That is number one. Number two is being able to connect to multiple fintechs securely. So you can open a certain port, you can open a certain IP address, connect to a SMS gateway, WhatsApp gateway, or an ML services which you have taken, and it is as easy as click of a button. Earlier, if you have on-premise cloud or most cloud which works in a traditional manner, will require a lengthy process, and you are not even certain if it is secure. Thirdly, because we have to ensure there's a BCP, there's a DR and a drill being done, there's a far side BCP required. So you cannot have a BCP in the same city. So this implementation also becomes very easy, and our infrastructure is resilient to any kind of attacks. Even if there is, we have a point of rollback, and we can start our business as quick as 15 to 20 minutes. And it is all operation. If business wouldn't even know that there was some infrastructure issue that happened. So cloud really helps in all these aspects, and it is a necessity today.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure, Hari, you have a lot of input.
Yeah. So I think a very key point on cloud, and most people, and even from a Tata communication perspective, what we kind of have realized is that it's more a platform that the customer is looking for, where they can hook in various components as and when. And today, the business is not waiting for the technology team to, get ready. They know that there is alternative, there is a faster way of doing it. Yeah. The challenge for the technology team often is that, okay, I have to keep this compliant, I have to have this, like Naved correctly mentioned, a BCP in ready. It has to be always available. And it has to be, ready to actually input a new channel of communication. So that's always an ongoing challenge for, the technology team. Now, from the cloud perspective, I think one key element is the agility. Immediately it gives, right? But that agility also comes with cost, right? And the nature of the business is that there are certain peak points. Okay, we have certain festivals where many people buy vehicles. right? It's an auspicious occasion, so they will buy it. Now, that has to be covered. In that point of time, you would require a lot of technology resources available. And immediately after that, probably it'll dip down or it'll move to a different process. Okay, it may go to the underwriting process or it may go to the collection process. That volume will suddenly have to move. And that flexibility, the expectation from business would be it has to be seamless. It can't be. But it's at the technology team knows that was, a software number one,
Yes.
package number one. The second was package number two. So how do you keep that cost, consistent? And that is something which because the price points can't change. So it's a combination and a mix of activities which the technology team has to do, where they have to keep the cost consistent, but at the same time have the agility and the process actually shift load where it is required, but ensure that the baseline is always covered, the cost parameters are covered. Yes. So that's an ongoing challenge, and I'm sure Naveed faces that on a regular basis.
Right, Hari, I'll tell you. So, and it is right for the business to expect that everything is seamless and at a right price point.
Correct.
So, I do not want to spend unnecessarily to pull something out from the profitability that a business has worked for. And it is extremely important to take a right understanding and prediction. So today, cloud also helps us understand what would be the usage for the next 2 to 3 months.
Correct.
It's not just limited to me deciding whether it is required or not.
Correct.
So these services actually help me identify what will my spend be for the coming months, and then allocate the right resources for it.
Absolutely.
And amongst other challenges, Hari, what would you say are the challenges for NBFCs to really work towards achieving economies of scale? What are the challenges that you're seeing in your experience, and what are some of the solutions?
So one example I actually gave was the actual increase in a particular point, right? That happens across NBFCs in different formats based on the clients they kind of cater to. And the expectation is that there are certain lead products which the customers have, right? Which they want to take to the market. And those products have to actually become leaner and the process has to be faster, and the infrastructure and the support systems have to actually be better at a lower price point. Yes. Because the scale has increased. Now, the simplicity in that is, like cloud is one part of the solution, but a platform-based approach where you actually interact all the channels, right? When you look at it from a customer experience perspective, each of the channels have, each of the applications may have multiple channels associated with it. So you may have one application which is for onboarding a customer, and that has a voice channel. It has people can call in and talk to someone. They can also SMS. They can also WhatsApp. They can also do email, or those are various channels through which you can communicate with, let's say, a salesperson. And the same channel are repeated when it comes to, let's say, when it comes to the underwriter, or more importantly during the loan collection, right? So, and this is a kind of inefficient model, and it was being done. A platform which actually abstracts these channels from the applications is one area which we kind of focused on. Okay, so I'm saying that, okay, whatever are the telecom channels, can we actually ensure that we give you a layer where, irrespective of the communication channel which you want to do on your application, you can do that seamlessly. Okay, and it becomes a lot more easier because you have now the ability to actually know what did I actually sell or talk to the customer during the loan dispersal process, when I'm in my collection process. Okay, did I say such a thing, or was there a document which was signed? All that can be also easily picked up from the same channel. Okay, so or through multiple channels in an aggregated fashion. So that's one area which we kind of see, because today there are multiple channels and multiple people and touch points. And can you actually aggregate and make it, frictionless for the user during the life cycle? Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for all your insights. Before we wrap up, what is the one thing that you would say is key and essential as a priority to really thrive for organizations in a hyper-connected world, as we are talking about today?
I think it is extremely important to understand the persona that we are catering to and understand their need. Uh, there is always a need for market research, and we do that, and we ensure that the products that we offer are for those specific kind of need and persona. So if it is something for a tier one customer or in the city, then in that case we try and give a digital first approach. However, if you are reaching out to tier 2, tier 3 cities and customers which is new to credit, then in that case we try and balance it between digital and physical, more like a phygital solutions.
Thank you.
Absolutely, I think that's spot on, and I would probably repeat the same because it all boils down to the persona who we are interacting with. It could be the individual, like he mentioned in the tier one city. At the same time, it could be the RM who's going and providing the solution for someone in a tier two city, or the collection agent who is. So each one has a different challenge, and how do you make it so that you are frictionless ultimately to the end customer, and make it a lot more simpler. Yeah.
Right, gentlemen, thank you so much for all your insights. It's really been a pleasure talking to you today.
Thank you.
Thank you, Devina. Thanks, Sanjay.
Thanks.
All right, well, on that note, that's all we have for you on this episode of Digital Pioneers, an ETStudios initiative powered by Tata Communications. But do stay tuned for part 2 of this in-depth series, where we bring you all the insights you need to know about thriving in a hyper-connected ecosystem. Until then, many thanks for watching.